Hi, I am going to begin again, continuing on a series of videos regarding relationships. I am provoked, particularly in the last few weeks here, because in every area that I am involved in, whether it be teaching in the college classroom, whether it be teaching in the men's prison, whether it's friends, family, what I'm hearing on the television, it is clear that the reality that unprotected sex can cause you to die, it still has not set in. There is still a large population of individuals who are either in denial, just don't care about their life or anyone else's life, or they're just plain psychotic. There's still this population out there risking their lives and the lives of others. Now, it is frightening to me because from what I'm seeing so far on television, they're being just so passive about it. On the Steve Harvey project, a woman called in voluntarily and admitted that she was currently sleeping with 4 married men. That's 4 homes affected by a total stranger that no one else in that home knows about except that husband. I watched the show The View. I watched an episode where they were asking a question. If you knew that your friend's husband or wife was stepping out on them, would you tell them? And they actually had a discussion for about 10 or 15 minutes. And all of these women and all of these different age groups, do you know not one of them mentioned the possibility of contracting the AIDS virus? They were more concerned about, well, what would my friend think of me? Well, what if it came back on me? Well, what if this? No one was concerned. No one put the word AIDS on the table, which concerned me. Because nowadays, that's all that matters. One mistake with the wrong person, and you will die. So now, I'm going to try my best to bring it home a little more clearer. You are going to die if you don't stop having unprotected sex. For this particular video, I have to get with the women. Because the bottom line is, women, if we say no, there's less transmission. The last report from the CDC says that 84% of women who have the HIV virus contracted it from heterosexual contact. That means that for the most part, they're getting it from men. Now, what's really scary is that the CDC points out that the large amount of contraction of the AIDS virus for men is coming from other men. So now, you do the math. Now, ladies, I'm going to ask you. And brothers, I don't want you to click off just because I'm speaking to the ladies. And I don't need you getting angry because you got sisters, you got daughters, and you got female relatives who you don't want to see anything happen to. But see, because we still don't believe in the truth about the principle of reaping and sowing, we don't think it can come back around to us. But the bottom line is, whose home we destroy, that stuff is going to come back on us. And it doesn't necessarily come back on you. It comes back on those you love. It comes back on your daughter. It comes back on your son. But now, ladies, let me deal with you. Or let me ask you to please, for a moment, deal with yourself. Deal with the mindset that you have at the moment you give way to having unprotected sex. I'm not even going to get into why we're having sex outside of marriage. That's old news. It's been preached. It's been taught. We've got every biblical principle has been explained. Everyone knows the deal. You know what God requires, but we're still doing it. So I'm not even going to take it to church right now. Let's just deal with you because apparently we don't need God's input because we're doing what we want to do. So now let me ask you about what is going on in your mindset at the time, at the moment. What is going on that would take your right mind and throw it out the window? I'm going to ask you to commit to thinking. for a season of time. I'm going to ask you to close your legs so you can think. I want you to think about what you're doing. Think about the risks. I want you to think harder than you've been thinking, because apparently you have thought about it and then you talk yourself out of it. Now, I remember being silly. Don't get it twisted. Ain't nobody innocent over here. But at some point in time, you've got to wake up. When the numbers for HIV virus have been made so clear and so plain, when you see how quickly you can contract the HIV virus, and we are still on a daily basis having unprotected sex, there is something straight up psychotic about that. There is some deep self-hatred going on to know that you could die. And not only that, you would die here and leave your children without a mother. You could pass the disease on to your own child. Now, I'm not just talking to somebody that's immature, silly. I'm talking to serious, straight-up grown women. I'm talking to women in the corporate world. I'm talking to women sitting in pulpits. Yes, I am. I'm talking to women who are owning Fortune 500 companies. I'm talking about women who are college graduates. Who you thought I was talking to? You thought I was talking to just a chicken head? No. You thought I was talking to just an 18, 16-year-old girl? No. We know what's going on with them. I'm talking to straight-up grown women who are handing over their house keys to men that they haven't even checked out yet. That's what I'm talking about. You got them driving your cars. You fixing their food. You laying with them. You taking care of their kids. You paying off their child support. You paying off their tickets, that what they got before they got in jail. And when they get out of jail, you letting them in your house. I got to put it out there, because what I'm hearing is staggering. For a woman to boldly call in and admit, I'm sleeping with 4 different married men. So if she can be so bold as to call in and say that over national television, surely I can get on YouTube and let you know where it's at for real. There's something wrong with the mind. There's a deadness of spirit. There's a disconnect from God. And if we don't stop and check each other, we will cancel our life on this earth. I want you to think about what you are doing. Now, let me speak to that particular audience of women who write men back and forth in prison. And don't misunderstand me. I care deeply for the men in prison. I'm in there every week putting it down, getting to their heads, trying to send them home right. But you know what? You messing up what I'm trying to get done. You messing up the seeds that God is planting in there while they're being taught in prison, when you let them come out and come straight into your house. Don't believe everything you read in those letters. They need some place to go. So whatever they need to tell you to get you to open the door when they get out, they're going to do so. They burned every bridge behind them. Now, I want you to consider, there's got to be something up. If a man can't come out and he has nowhere to go, there's not one person on this earth that they can go to. They've got to connect with you through some other inmate to get involved with you, and then through connection, you writing back and forth. When they come out, you haven't checked them. You don't know what they've done in prison. Trust me, I know what they're doing. I know what has happened. But who shows up to your door, trust what I'm telling you, is not what you think. Not all the time. Why are you taking that chance? What is it about you? What is it about your life that has been so damaging and so destructive that you would take that chance? Now, oh, Miss Batman, are you being so hard on everybody? You don't know what it's like. Oh, yes, I do. I'm single. Been single for a long time. And no, it's not easy. And yeah, I get faced with temptation all the time. But you know what? I have to stop and think. At a certain age, I just had to stop and think, okay, wait a minute. I have a family. I have a home. God has blessed me to get an education. He's told me I can have whatever I want if I just came to him, if I submitted myself to him. I counted up the men that I had been involved with, and I counted up what was the result of all those interactions. I had zero. When I counted up all the things that God had done, when I held it down and listened to his word, I'm a wealthy woman. But you got to sit down and count up the costs. You're going to pay a price for doing what you're doing. If you want men to come out and if you want them to be godly, we have got to get out of God's way. If we give them everything, then they never grow to realize that God is their source. They come to believe that you are their source. And since we make it so easy, then they never understand what it's like to travail unto God. They never know what it's like to have to sacrifice. They never learn that the only way they're going to step up and be the head and be a real man is they're going to have to crack their knees just like you do to make it from day to day and submit themselves to God. Look at all you had to go through just to make it, raising children by yourself and living by yourself. You had to have some connection to God in order to make it this far, unless you was pimping and tricking and hoeing. Now, if that's what you do and you ain't into God, fine. Just click this off. This is not for you. But I'm talking to the ones who are professing God, who profess to know God, who say they love God and want to live for God. If we don't get out of the way, God is never going to be able to straighten a man's mind out. If you go back into Genesis from the beginning, the relationship that man had first was with God. And then God gave him purpose. And then God gave him a companion. But when you reverse the order, you bring destruction to what God originally intended. And that's why it never works. And that's why you regret it. And you get impatiently sick of one man after another. And then you lose patience with them. Because the least little thing they do, get your stuff and get out. Get out of my house. Give me my keys. You had no business doing it in the first place. Ladies, watch yourself. With these gentlemen coming out of prison, they need help, but they don't need to be taken care of. When they come out, you point them straight to God. And don't give them a choice. Don't give them an option. If you're ever going to have a whole man back again, you've got to get out of the way and make him face his Creator for his needs. There is a difference between supporting a man and nurturing a man. And women have got it twisted. Women nurturing is for children. You nurture children so that they can become who they were preordained to be. You support men as they reach up and become who God created them to be. But they have to have something established. They have to have a foundation there for you to support. It is not your job to give him his foundation. It is out of order, and that's why it's not working. Tax season's coming, isn't it? Yeah, we're getting our W-2s, and we're about to get tricked so hard, it's not even going to be funny. You know why? Because some of you women already decided how much you're going to break your man off when you get your refund check. That refund check is not for your man. If he is not your husband, if he has not been the lead, your money is supposed to be for you and your children. That's why you get child tax credits. You get daycare credits. You know why? Because the government knows you've been broke all year. So then you're going to turn around and get you a $4,000 or $5,000 check, and then you're going to go and pimp your man's ride. What's wrong with you? Think. Close your legs so you can think. Pray for the men in your life, but don't you dare put them above God. And that means don't put them above the principles of God. They will be just fine. And they will grow and become men faster if you get out of the way. Stop having unprotected sex. Stop paying for their tickets and their fines. There's no need for them to have any faith if you have stepped in God's place. Get your keys back. Get your stuff back. Get your house back. And get out of God's way.